Hi everyone! I've been wanting to challenge myself creatively for a while now, and I was trying to figure out ways to do it in a way that also inspires you to challenge your creativity, and then I thought of something fun. I have to create 3 or more pieces with a color that you choose. So I asked you all in my community tab and on Instagram what color I should use, and the majority of you said either green or purple. So I ran another poll on Instagram, and the winner was green. I don't know if you can tell by, the title or all of the green everywhere, including my makeup. But yeah, the color that we're using for this video is green. Now, for this color challenge, there are rules to follow. Miha, can you explain the rules, please? Yes, Miha, I will. There are a few rules that we have to follow for this challenge. Rule number 1, the color chosen has to be used, no exception. Rule number 2, the color chosen has to be the main color of the project. There can be other projects that complement the main color, but it cannot take attention from the main color. It should push it forward in a way. Rule number 3, the designs should not copy any designs from previous color series challenges. Since this is the first episode, there is a lot more freedom. Rule number 4, there has to be at least 3 designs made minimum. And for those 3, one has to be something that you can wear and another one has to be an accessory. So think a sweater and a keychain. And last but not least, rule number 5. Each color also has to correspond with the theme. Since the color for this video is green, the theme will be forest, fairies, and earth in general. Now, this is the only video that I'll personally be choosing the theme in. However, for future color series episodes, you will be the one to choose the theme. Thank you so much for your attention. Miha, back to you. Thank you, Miha. Now that we know the rules, it's time to get to designing. So usually I would design the designs first and then go out to buy yarn, but because green is my favorite color, I have a lot of green yarn already. Plus, I recently went to New York and my friend who owns a yarn store gave me a lot of green yarn. So I have a lot to work with and I don't have to really go out to the store or anything, but I did want to show you the type of yarn that I had really quickly. So here are all the different shades of green yarns that I have. There's some mixes of other colors, so just ignore those. But I have this really pretty yarn. It's like a mix of different shades here. I have all of these mixtures in this little mesh bag. And then I really want to use this for something. It is Japanese yarn, and this was probably the most expensive yarn. This is about like $40. So I definitely want to use this for something that I am definitely going to enjoy. And then I did want to somehow include some sparkles. I have this as well as some silver sparkle, and I did want to mix other colors like gray and everything, and also have some of these. I have this left over from my Wings Club thing, and then I have some grays and other colors here that I can mix with the green. I'm really excited to see what I can come up with, knowing that these are the choices that I have to work with. And yeah, now let's get to designing. So since the color is green, like I stated during the rules, I decided to make the pieces go based off the theme of nature, forest, fairies, and just earth in general. When I think about these themes, I think of different elements like mushrooms, leaves, frogs, moss, dirt, crystals, and more. I also think of fashion elements such as ribbons, sparkles, flowy fabrics, jewels, and layering. Keeping these in mind, I designed 4 different designs, making sure to keep the color green as the main color, but also adding complementing colors like brown, beige, and muted greens. So as it began to rain, I began to work on the pouch. The first design I came up with was the pouch. I thought it would be cool to have a green mushroom on the front of the pouch, which feeds into the forest theme and everything. The pouch can be used to hold different materials like acorns, crystals, berries, and I thought that it would be cute for the theme as well. The yarn I'll be using is this cotton and bamboo yarn. The texture is really soft and kind of silky almost, and I think it'll be perfect for the pouch. For the pouch, I first added the graph I was going to use and I put it on Procreate so I could number the squares patterns, which makes it easier for me to use the graph. I then started working with the dark green yarn and chained 19. I started with the first row of the graph in single crochet, then got started with the second row. For the second row, I worked single crochet until I reached the point where I needed to begin working the mushroom graph. Then when I needed to change colors, I did half a single crochet, grabbed my new color, and used it to finish the single crochet to attach it. Then I continued to work the graph as specified. I have a video linked in the description that shows you how to make graphs in crochet if you don't already know how. I continued working on the graph, which only took around an hour or so before I was able to finish it. Hi, so I finished the front panel for the pouch, and I also did the back panel off screen, but it's literally the same exact thing as the front panel. You just chain 19 and then work up 18 rows, and then you get the back panel. So I'm just gonna sew them together and then make like a few rows of single crochet on top and then make a drawstring and it'll be done. To attach the panels together, all I did was slip stitch from one side all the way to the other, making sure to leave the top of it open since, you know, it's a pouch. Once I got to the top of the pouch, I worked half double crochet around the top for 3 rows before chaining 1, cutting off and pulling to secure. And then the pouch was done. For the drawstring, I used the lighter sage color to chain 71 before cutting off. I then pulled it in and out, making sure it went into the pouch from one side, and then pulled it in and out around the pouch twice, and then pulled the tail out from the other side. Since I went in and out of the pouch twice, it makes the drawstring able to scrunch the top of the pouch closed. I then added a leaf to each of the ends of the drawstrings to make it more forest themed, and then it was done. The next design is a wearable, which I decided to make a layered maxi skirt. I've only made one maxi skirt in the past, but I've always wanted to do one that kind of mimics the frilly maxi skirts that are made with fabric. I want there to be ruffles that are flowy and include different yarn textures to make it more visually interesting. I think this will also give it fairy energy as well as the different textures you'd see in the forest in general. So this is all of the yarn that I'm thinking about using for the skirt. I definitely want to use this wool yarn here, as well as this probably for the waistband, and then mix in these different greens. I'm kind of iffy about this green, but I feel like it'll still be pretty cute if I did add in this lighter color to it. And just to add like a different color in the mix, I was going to use this gray, brown, and dark brown mix here, and then also some of this black sparkly thread that I have. And I don't know how I'm gonna mix all this together. It's gonna be kind of freestyle, but you know, we'll make it work. For the skirt, I first started with making a waistband. For the waistband, I chained 18 and worked 1 row of half double crochet. At the end of the row, I chained 1 and turned my work. From here until the waistband fit accurately around my waist, I worked half double crochets into the back loop only of each stitch. This gives the waistband a ribbed effect. For the waistband, I would recommend making it at least 2 inches smaller than your waist size, not only because crochet stretches, but because the skirt ends up pulling the waistband due to its weight. So if you want the waistband to be tight, especially after adding a drawstring, it's best to make the waistband at least 2 to 3 inches smaller than your waist. I did a total of 58 rows, but I personally wish I did around 50 to 52 rows instead. After the waistband was done, I slip stitched both ends of the waistband together. Then I laid the waistband flat and added a stitch marker to each side stitch, which will indicate where I would increase to make the skirt fit over my hips. After the stitch markers were attached, I did 1 row of single crochet around the top of the waistband. This starts the body of the skirt. Once I reached one of the stitch markers, I took off the stitch marker, added 2 single crochets into the same stitch, and then added the stitch marker back into the second stitch I just created. Then I worked down the row normally until the next stitch marker and repeated the same pattern. At the end of the row, I slip stitched into the first stitch of the row. From here, I added my next color. I attached my next green color and worked another row of single crochets around, still making sure to increase in the stitch markers whenever I reached them. On the third row, I made an increase into every single stitch around the entire row. Doing this creates the skirt's ruffliness and makes it more flowy. When I reached the stitch markers, I just took them out of the skirt since I didn't need to do any more hip increases. After the third row, I began to freehand the skirt. Sometimes I would use double crochet for a row, sometimes I would use treble or even half double crochet for a row. It was all made up as I went along since I didn't have a bunch of yarn to do the project. To make the layers of the skirt, I made 1 row of double crochet into the front loops only of each stitch. This makes it so I can start a new section of the skirt in the back loops later on. After the row of working into the front loops, I made 3 more rows of double crochet, changing the yarn as I go before cutting off after finishing the third row. I started the next layer of the skirt by attaching my yarn to any of the back loops from the inside of the skirt where I did the row of treble crochet in the front loops of the first layer. Once the yarn was attached, all I did was work 2 double crochets into each stitch, which made the skirt even more ruffly than the first layer. I did this for the entire row, and then for the following rows I only worked 1 crochet, making no increases for the rest of the project. The skirt was actually pretty easy to make after doing the waistband and initial start of the body. I was mainly guessing the entire time, and whenever I wanted to change the yarn, I just switched it. Okay, so right now it's the next day working on the skirt, and I just wanted to show and talk about it on camera for a second. So this is essentially the first layer that I have done. I added a little drawstring because I made the waist a bit too big for me, so I had to add the drawstring so I wouldn't have to start over or anything. And essentially all I've been doing for the whole skirt is I did single crochet for a little bit of the beginning, and then I've been doing double crochet, making sure I changed the yarn to add extra textures and everything. And then once it got past the part where like you could see my butt and stuff, that's when I started to do, like, for the end of the first layer right here, I added treble crochet, and then I added ruffles to the bottom of that before ending it. And then underneath the skirt, I started the second layer of the skirt by attaching it to where I did the front loop crochets. I attached these to the back loop and then started a couple rows underneath the layers. I didn't care what yarn I used because you can't see it, and I think this skirt is going to take a lot of yarn to make, so I just used random yarn that I found in the closet so that I can get to the point where the second layer can be shown, and then that's when I start adding all of the other textures and stuff so that it can be visible. But yeah, that's what I have so far. As the skirt was progressing, I kept trying on the skirt, and every time I put it on, I would always take forever to get started back with making it because it was just so cute to me. I knew I was definitely going to make it a maxi skirt, but it was actually really cute as a shorter skirt too. But unfortunately, I was running out of yarn, so I ended up having to go to the store. So I went to the yarn store to see if they had any cool yarns that I could use to finish the skirt. I picked up different yarns to see which ones I liked, but ended up only with a couple that I thought would flow better with the skirt. I also walked around the store to see if there were any other things I could use to spice up the skirt. This velvet yarn was so pretty, but I was unsure if it would go with the skirt, but I threw it in the cart anyways. I found these cute butterfly charms as well as a little fairy tale section of charms that were so cute. I also went through some ribbons and found a color that matched the skirt as well. Okay, I have these options so far, and I like that this one right here, it's hard to point, but this one right here has a lot of texture to it, or like personality. This one, This velvet one's really pretty. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I can still try. And I like this because it's fluffy. I might add a couple of rows with it. The only two ones that I'm iffy about are these. Like this has a bit of fluff to it, and I think I should also have something that is a little bit more like basic. So maybe I might just get them all, but we'll see. So I just got back from the yarn store and I wanted to quickly show the yarn and the charms that I got. So for the charms, I got these cute little butterfly charms right here. And then I also got these cute little mushrooms right here. And I think with the charms, what I'm gonna do is slip it, like I could use a little needle to slip the yarn through the little charm hole over there. And then so it'll be on the yarn already, and then all I have to do is just work like I normally do. I'm not sure where on the skirt I'm gonna put the charms. I'm thinking maybe like towards the end I'm going to go back and do something extra with the little ruffle parts, so maybe I can add like a charm on different parts of it occasionally, or even if I don't want to add more rows to it, I could just put the charm on like a piece of yarn, and then I could weave in the yarn and to make it look like the charm's hanging off and stuff. I think that would be cute. And then for the yarn that I got, oh, I also got some ribbon, and I think I want to put like ribbon like maybe on the sides or even on the ruffly parts, you know, just to spice the skirt up a little bit. But the one yarn that I am curious about how I'm gonna do anything with is this velvet yarn. It kind of goes with this yarn here in terms of the color, so like once I run out of this, maybe I can start using this one. I also got this alpaca yarn right here. Yeah, so now I'm gonna just go ahead and continue making the skirt, and towards the end, once the skirt is complete, I'm gonna start adding the little charms and ribbons into different places. I continued to work on the rest of the skirt with the new yarn, and then eventually made a new drawstring for it as well. I inserted the new drawstring into the waistband and continued working on the skirt. So I just ran out of the yarn that I can use for this skirt, so I guess it's done. It was now time for me to add the cute little charms onto the skirt. The only thing is that I couldn't decide on places to put them like I initially wanted, so I just added the butterfly charms onto the ends of the drawstrings with my tapestry needle. All I did was pull the tapestry needle through the charm loop with the ends of the drawstring on it, and then weaved in the end into the drawstring so that the charm would stay on nicely. And then the skirt was complete. Alright, so I'm gonna have like a little clip over here since I can't get a full view of the skirt from this angle. But yeah, this is the skirt. I really love how this skirt came out. I have been wanting to make a skirt like this for the longest, like the longest. In my first crochet bottoms video, I wanted to make my cotton skirt a lot longer, but I used like 4 or 5 balls of cotton and each of them were like $5. And I was like, yeah, this is just gonna be a mini skirt, so that's what that skirt is. But now I was finally able to make the maxi skirt of my dreams. If I were to change this, I would definitely fix the top ribbing because I used a very like loose type of yarn for this. This is made out of bamboo, and I think I should have used like a wool or even an acrylic, because every time I tie this it just gets wider and wider, and I feel like at some point it's just gonna get so loose to the point where it's gonna break, unfortunately. But still, it just came out so pretty. I love the frills, I love the different textures I added on here. I just love how it came out, honestly, and I'm very proud of it. And so I say this is a success as well for the challenge. I am really happy with it. The next design is another accessory, a corsage choker. I saw a YouTube video talking about how corsages are going to be popular, and that gave me the idea to make one, but as a choker. It's not an original idea, but I think one made with crochet, specifically with mohair yarn, would turn out pretty cute. The mohair gives the corsage a kind of mossy feel, kind of, sort of, and I think that fits the theme, so we're going to do that. I also decided to combine the mohair with this sparkly thread, which will give the corsage more elegance. shall I say. I started the corsage with a chain of 55. After chaining 55, I worked 1 double crochet into the 4th stitch of the chain. I then chained 4 and added 1 more double crochet into the same stitch. After, I double crocheted into the 3rd stitch from the stitch I just worked in. And then again chained 4 and then added 1 more double crochet into that stitch. For this, I repeated this all the way until the end, making 1 double crochet into the 3rd stitch, chaining 4, and then working 1 more double crochet until the end. When I got to the end, I chained 1 and turned my work. For the next row, I added 10 double crochets into the chain space. Then after, I chained 1 and added 1 single crochet into the same space. Then I added 1 single crochet into the next chain space and chained 1 before adding 10 double crochets into the same chain space. After, I chained 1, added 1 single crochet into the same space, single crocheted into the next chain space, and repeated the process. So I'm halfway done making the corsage, but I kind of feel like it's looking a bit too big. Like, as I've been doing the whole double crochet 10 inside each chain space, I've been kind of like rolling it up to see how it would look when it's complete and everything. Rolling it up now, it looks kind of, do you think this is too big? Like, and the thing is, it's like, it's this big now, but I also have a lot more left to do right here. So I'm gonna complete it, roll it up, sew it together, and then see how it looks then. If it is too big, I'll probably make another one with the same stuff and just make it smaller. I finished off the rows with the chain 1, cut a long tail of yarn, and pull to secure. I then rolled up the rows slowly to make sure everything was neat before sewing in and out around the petals and inside of the rows. Okay, so I finished the rows, and just like I thought, it's pretty big. Like, it's not that bad, but I think I would have liked this if it was a lot smaller, just for like my neck. Like, if I were to like actually use it like as a wrist corsage, or maybe like on a top or something, it'd be cute, but just on my neck it's a bit big. But I still am gonna make the choker. All I have to do is create 2 long chains. I'll probably make each chain 100 chains long, and then I'll sew one side on this side and one side on this side, and so I can just twist it around, maybe add like a little bow and stuff. I can't really make another one of these because this is all of the mohair that I have left, unfortunately. So I found this yarn in the closet. This isn't mohair, this is a green alpaca that I found. I want to make a small version of the little rose just to see which one I like more, and then like I'm still gonna use this for something. Like if I don't use this for a corsage, I can use it for, I can make a rose and just put it in a vase or something. But I'm still gonna make both, and I also already made both of the chains, which I ended up doing a chain of 80. So in total there's 79 chains. And yeah, I'm gonna make a smaller version and see how that goes and choose whichever one I like. For the small version of the rose, I chained 51. After the chain of 51, I just repeated the same pattern as the big one, but instead of double crochets, I single crocheted into the second stitch, chained 2, and then added 1 more single crochet into that same stitch. I then repeated this for the entire row, making sure to add 1 single crochet into the second stitch, chaining 2, and then added 1 more single crochet into the same stitch. When I got to the end, I chained 1 and turned my work. I then added 3 half double crochets into the chain space. Chained 1 and added 1 single crochet into the same space. For the next space, I added 1 single crochet and then chained 1 before doing 3 half double crochets in the same space. After the 3 half double crochets, I chained 1, added 1 single crochet into the same space, and then added 1 single crochet into the next space, repeating this down the row. I made 2 long chains of 80 for the wrap part of the corsage and just sewed it on opposite sides of the back of the rows. This is actually the second one that I made. The first one is over there. It's pretty big, and I feel like I probably use it for something specific, like I said in the video, like probably like if I want to make it into like a little rose I can keep in a vase or something, I can do that. But this one that I made with the alpaca yarn is a lot better for the choker. And I think it looks really cute and works perfectly for this challenge as one of the 2 accessories that I made for it. And I'm so happy that I added the sparkle to this because it just gives it so much more personality, and I think it's really cute. The last design is the granny stitch cardigan. For this, it's actually a project I've always wanted to make, so I decided to use this tutorial here, which is also linked in the description box. I wanted to make sure I did it correctly, so I decided to use her tutorial. I think this cardigan fits the theme due to its color and its flowiness, I guess. It's sort of fairy-like, but I feel like it fits more of someone walking through the forest type vibe more than anything else, so that's why it's in this video. The yarn I'll be using is a mix of acrylic and wool, which I thought would be perfect for a cardigan. I went ahead and started working on the cardigan according to the tutorial, and for the most part, it was easier than I realized. I was scared I was going to run out of yarn, but I was so thankful I bought 3 skeins of each color instead of 2 like I was originally going to. I was able to finish the first arm in one day, and it kind of threw me off because I'm so used to struggling to figure out patterns, so doing a tutorial that was actually easy made me go, did I really do this right? It couldn't have been that easy, right? Well, after I finished the first arm and then finished the second, I realized that sometimes when something is too easy, it probably means you did it wrong. And doing it wrong was something that I did. Before I actually realized what I did wrong though, I slip stitched each of the arms to look like actual arms and even worked on the sleeve sections to make it to my liking. But as I worked on it, I grew confused as to why my arms weren't folding like the video, and then I realized. So I was looking at the video and I was wondering why mine wasn't folding properly, and then I realized that I did 5 corners instead of 6. So right now I have my arm looking like this. And I am not gonna start over. That's not happening. So I'm just gonna continue it and just try and figure out how to. So I'm gonna attach it like you usually would if you made 6 parts. I'm just gonna kind of finesse it and hopefully that works. I was not about to start over. I literally finished everything that I had to, and starting over it's just not an option. So I grabbed a part of the back of one of the arms and decided to make a corner with it. I added a stitch marker to the new corner and the top of it and made a couple of rows to make it seem like nothing wrong ever happened. And it actually worked. I repeated this on the second arm, and it wasn't the best looking to me since it wasn't the correct way, but it was still a good finesse to me. I then attached the arms together and the cardigan was done. Here is the little hexagon crochet cardigan. However, like I said while I was making it, instead of 6 sides, I made 5 sides. So I had to figure out what to do in the back. And this is kind of like what it ended up looking like. This is what it ended up looking like. It's kind of scrunched up in the back, but it was a lot worse before. And so all I did was I added like extra rows in the middle, and then I did about 2 rows at the end from this side all the way to this side so it can kind of get together. And then for the little front ribbing, I just added 1 row of half double crochet, and I did 1 row of half double crochet for the arms or for the sleeves as well. And I think I kind of saved it because I was not about to start over. I literally figured out that I did it wrong on the last row of the last sleeve, and I was like, yeah, I want this video to get out as soon as possible. I just spent 2 days working on this. I'm not starting over. I'm gonna make it work. And I did. It looks really cute. I like the colors. Like while I was making it, I thought that the gray and the brown wasn't gonna make the green stand out. But in the video, like, it's kind of like all you see is the green. It looks like it's green and like white or green and gray. But it's cute. I really like it. I'm definitely gonna wear this a lot. But yeah, this is really cute. I am happy with this. This is a success in my book. Even though I messed up, I was able to save it in the end, and it's cute. That is all of the pieces in this video. I hope you liked them. I know that I did, and I'm very proud of myself for making these pieces. I really thought it was gonna be hard, but for some reason, it was easy, maybe because I really like the color green. But I would like for you to tell me what color I should do next, as well as what theme for that color I should do next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Big old wasp to my right now. Oh my god. I'm staying focused. Bro, he is huge. I can do it, bro. It is on me.